This is TWiT.
Well, that brings us to the whiskey segment.
Yeah. And this is sort of a continuation on last week. So last week I talked about High Coast, which used to be known as the Box Distillery, and they had to change it because of these guys, Compass Box. And the fact that I have a very dear friend who recently turned 60. And so I went and got him a Compass Box whiskey. So Compass Box is not a distiller. They are a bottler. They were founded in 2000 by a guy named John Glazer. Very much a legend in the industry. He used to be the marketing director at Johnny Walker. And the apocryphal story goes that in the 2000s, by the way, an American working in Scotland, and he pressed on Diageo, who owned Johnny Walker at the time, to make some higher end blended whiskeys, which his boss said, great idea, not the right time in the market, so no. And so his answer was to leave and do it himself. And by the way, he's all over YouTube. If you look up his name in Compass Box, they make a lot of cool videos. And he has this great line where he says, hey, I'm just trying to fight against the single malt hegemony, right? The point being selecting great barrels of whiskey from great whiskey makers and then making awesome luxury, expensive blends. So, and they sort of fall into three categories. The highest end would be the blended malts, which is literally a blend of single malts. Then there's blended Scotch, which can be both single malts and grain alcohol. And then blended grades, which is primarily grain. And so Glazer's also big on the fact that in 2000, when he was doing this, the 90s had been a slow time for whiskey. And so a lot of distilleries had a lot of barrels that had been laid up for a long time that they weren't able to sell. And so he was able to acquire a lot of whiskey. And now 25 years on, those numbers are starting to go down, which speaks to what's happened the past few years at Compass Box. So they've won all kinds of awards. They had 2 decades of just making really cool high-end blends. But in 2022, Calum Capital, which is run by an ex-Diageo guy who's on the investment side, acquired a majority stake in Compass Box and brought in a guy named Maurice Doyle, who's also an old school whiskey guy. William Grant worked for Suntory, Bacardi, and so forth. But I think they were very much addressing the fact that there's less and less availability of old whiskey to acquire and blend. And so they simplified the line just down to a few different whiskeys. And last year, Glazer himself actually stepped back. He's still a major shareholder, but he's not working day to day. And now this year, Maurice Doyle's also moved on. So one of the younger generation guy named James Saxon has largely been running the show at Compass Box now. And it turns out that Saxon's actually responsible for the whiskey that I'm talking about today, which is a whiskey called Vellichor. Now, Vellichor is an invented word, although that's true of all words. There's a guy named John Koning who has a book called The Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows. And really, it's a collection of words he thinks should exist. And Vellichor is one of them, being a synthesis of vellum and ichor, or the smell of paper. His actual description is the strange wistfulness of used bookstores, which are somehow infused with the passage of time filled with thousands of old books you'll never have time to read, each of which is locked in its own era, bound and dated and papered over like an old room the author abandoned years ago, a hidden annex littered with thoughts left just as they were on the day they were captured. Now, the question is, can you actually make a whiskey that captures that idea? Now, what's cool about the bottle is that it actually comes in a book jacket, so it looks like a book, and then you pop it open. It was only made once, and in January 22, 3,246 bottles made, and it is a blend of about 13, 14 barrels. So there's 8 barrels of 25-year-old Highland Park, making up 38% of the blend. Then 2 barrels of what they call a blended malt parcel. So that's already combined whiskey that they added to this. A barrel of blended Scotch parcel. 2 first fin barrel bourbon casks from a 23-year-old Macallan. And then 1 hogshead of a 37-year-old Kyle Ela, which is a peated whiskey. So let me tell you about drinking this. It's at 44.6%. It's not real burning, but it's got a little scent to it, like old leather and paper.
It smells like a secondhand bookshop.
Like an old bookstore. I swear amazing. To God, man, like an old bookstore.
That's amazing.
It was amazing. And gentle to drink, just in a remarkable blend, just a really profound sip of whiskey. And its price reflects that, about $400 US but to be clear, very good friend. And so I was happy to give it to him. He's an old bookstore kind of guy. And not hugely passionate about whiskey. He's drank plenty with me, but he's not into it the way that I would be. Not that I know that anyone is. But he did appreciate this, and we had a drink together. And
now, here's the question. Do you tell him how much you paid for this? Or
I would not, but he can easily discover that if he wishes to.
Yes.
But
it just looks expensive. And that's what
I mean, when it comes in a wrapper like that, and Compass Box is well known for gorgeous bottles and clever
really
names.
Beautiful. Yeah.
You know, and unique editions, many unique editions. Although, again, I think we may be at the end of the road for Compass Box. So I'm kind of glad to have bought arguably the most expensive whiskey they've ever produced and had a chance to experience. So just because we're at a different time with the popularity of whiskey today, the chance of blending these old barrels together is pretty rare. You know, the weird thing about a 37-year-old barrel, it takes 37 years to make it.
Yeah, there aren't a lot of them.
Yeah, it's tricky.
Yeah, they're middle-aged.
Yeah.
So it's not just marketing when they say hints of leather, polished furniture, and the crackling dustiness of decades-old books.
I'm not the guy who goes down those crazy tasting languages. You know, I've always laughed at people who do that. It's like, I get a sense of pencil shavings. And, you know, I don't even understand that. Did it drink nice? Did it hurt me? You know, how did it feel as I swallowed? I'd like a little sip and the smell.
Yeah.
You know, I love the craftsmanship of whiskey. I do like stuff that tastes good and is enjoyable to drink. And this was all of those things. And for the price, by golly, it ought to be. Right?
By golly, yes.
And so, you know, you talk about what's a whiskey you buy as a gift for a friend. Well, for this friend, this was the
Vellichor. I love the name too.
Vellichor, yeah. And literally, I think that word's actually going to make it to the Oxford. Like it's like petrichlor. This, you know, the scent of green grass after rain. Vellichor. I think it's a perfect word.
Because vellum, of course, is the old book binding.
Strokacor, the feeling you have when you have copper in your mouth.
Taste of blood after a fight. Yes.
Is anyone else tasting blood? No. Okay.
That's burnt.
Can you get it in the U.S. or I mean?
Yeah, I can. I mean, if only 3,000 bottles ever made, it is distributed. They have a big U.S. contingent. You will go to a specialty retail for this. Right. I don't expect to find it at Total Wine or anything like that.
No, Whisky Exchange apparently has it. So.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Those guys are pretty good.
Yeah, 800. No, 400 pounds. Okay,
400 pounds. Yeah,
nice.
But generally speaking, Compass, you know, you will the most popular Compass box is one called Hedonism, and you can generally find that at a Total Wine or a Betflow and so forth, $50 to $100 depending on the edition.
Let me just convert this over to US.
They're pretty close.
Yeah, you can get it $459. Yeah. You can get it from Whisky Exchange. So there you go.
There you go.
So if you've got somebody who likes old books.
Yeah. And again,
just the smell of old books.
Yeah. A special kind of whiskey too. So for the right person. But Kent's that kind of friend.
That's really awesome.